Now inside Substance, we wanna load our model and import our file, our norm map. We wanna plug the norm map into the normal slot. We wanna go to bake mesh maps, and we wanna bake all the other maps, preferably in at least 2 or 4K. So let's do 4K, so we're on the safe side. We're gonna bake the rest of the maps. As soon as this is done, we can start with creating textures. In case you got my substance pack, you can just start from those, because we're basically gonna like recreate the metal and the rust here as our basis, and we're just gonna like alter it a bit. If you don't have the pack, don't worry, we're just gonna start from scratch. Okay, so all the maps are baked now, looking good. Okay, then let's start with the first thing. Let's start with the metal. First of all, we need a base, basically. So what I always start off with is with a flat layer, where I define my basic properties. Let's call this one base. We don't need height and normal for this one. As a color, we're gonna choose something mid-gray value, like a mid-gray. For metallic, we want to say, yes, this is metallic, but it shouldn't be as rough, so we're gonna pull the roughness up a bit. Maybe to this point. Yeah, this is a good roughness. So that's all, that's the base. Then on top of this base, we're gonna create a second layer. Again, we don't need everything, we just need color and rough in this one. We wanna make this slightly darker and slightly glossier. And now inside the mask of this, so we're gonna add a black mask, and we're gonna add a fill layer. Inside this black mask, we wanna add a noise. So we're gonna use let's put in noise, we're gonna use the Perlin noise, for example. Now if we press with Alt on the mask, we can see how it actually looks, and this one is a bit big, because the result that we wanna have is like a small punctual noise thing. So we're just gonna scroll to the scale, and we're just gonna pump this up. If it doesn't go higher than this, just type in values. So we're gonna type in 750, for example. Yeah, which is a good size. And now, as you can see, we have this small noise all over the metal. Now, as the next thing is, we wanna add some breakups on the whole blade. So we're gonna start off with first some bright breakups. So let's call this base 02. Let's put in a layer. Let's call this base. Then we're gonna create a new flat one, call this one bright breakups. And again, we don't need everything. We need a bright value. We need a different roughness. And we wanna start breaking it up with a different mask again. So we're gonna add a mask. In this case, we're gonna use one of the grunge masks. There is one I like to use is this one, because as you can see, it looks very nice. It looks like broken up and scratched. We want to change the projection to triplanar, so it goes over the whole model and is not like working with the UVs. We want to pull down the balance a bit, so it's more black than white, so we don't get this breakup everywhere. As you can see, we just get it on some spots. And we want to change the opacity also, so it's not as opaque. Same in the roughness, we can take a look. Let's see the roughness map. Oh, it's fine even. So let's keep the roughness, just change the diffuse. We're gonna again put this in a folder and call the folder additionals. Okay, next to the white breakup, we wanna do a darker grunge breakup as well. So we wanna just duplicate this one. Instead of white, make it black. And we make it more glossy again. So it's a different roughness variation as well. And in the mask, we're not gonna use the the dirt scratched. We're gonna use a different grunge map I like to use. It's called the cobweb. It looks like this. I like to use this one. Yeah, we're just gonna keep it the way it is. And we also, oh yeah, it's already at 15 because we duplicate it, so fine. Let's see. Also, if we take a look in the color and the roughness, yeah, this looks nice. So we're already starting to get this nice breakup on the whole blade. On top of this, we want to add another breakup layer. This time, not with a mask. This time, we're actually gonna put in the breakups in the color and the roughness, so we can set them to overlay. We're gonna use the grunge wipe directional for these ones. That's one I like to use. So either one. Again on triplanar, and let's make sure it has a nice size. Yeah, this one, like this looks nice. Maybe a bit big. Let's do 4 maybe. Yeah, let's keep it like this. We want to make sure we have the same map in here. And now we want to change the color to overlay. Let's go into the base color, and we want to pump it down to maybe 30. Let's see. Yeah. So as you can see, it makes it darker and brighter at the same time because we chose overlay. So that's like the main reason to do this. Because if we use mask, we can just either brighten it up or make it darker. This week we can do both, and we're gonna change both the base color and the roughness a bit. Yeah. So we have, as you can see, different, different values that are not as intense. But this looks cool already. So as you can see, it starts breaking up the whole, texture of the blade. Next thing is we're gonna add some highlights. So again, only metal roughness. Again, pretty wide for the highlights because we're just gonna tone down the opacity, and pretty glossy for the roughness. Let's call this one highlights. Let's add a black mask again, and then add a generator inside. We're gonna use the mask editor for this one. Let's look inside this one. Let's use this opacity slider on the curvature, pump it all the way up, and let's alter it a bit so it's not as wide. So we just want to have the very edges like this. Okay, yeah, this looks good. And now to break this up, what we can do is we can add a texture here. So we can add a grunge map here. Let's choose this one, for example. We have to make sure to change the texture opacity here. And again, here we can change the scale, the brightness, contrast. So let's see, because what we want actually, I don't want it on overlay. I think, yeah, I want it on multiply, so it's not as harsh. This might already look good, so let's see. Yeah, this doesn't look too bad. Now again, might be too white, too bright, so let's just pull this down a bit, maybe to like, yeah, 80 or something. So we just have this small highlights here, and it's more in the roughness than in the color. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now that we did the highlights, another thing I like to add is like little breakup in the height. So what we want to do is we want to add one layer we're gonna call height small, and we're also gonna add a height large later. Again, we want to start off by defining how rough it is. As it's a dip, we want to make it more rough, as dirt will get in there. The height, we just want to pull it down just a bit, so minus 0.5 maybe, 0.05, sorry. Just a bit. You will see later, as soon as we have the mask, that it's actually a lot. Let's leave the color how it is for now, and let's take a look at how we can do this. So let's add a black mask. Let's add again a fill layer, and let's look for the mask with Alt, and let's start by plugging in maps. So there's a dirt I'd like to use. It's the dirt 3, which is like these small dots. What we want to do again is change it to triplanar and pump up the scaling. So if we take a look now, as you can see, we already get those small dots in here, but of course it's too much, too intense basically. So what we want to do is turn down the balance a bit so it's not as many. Maybe like this. And we also wanna, yeah, this looks better. And we also wanna get it off of the corners. So we wanna add a generator, a mask editor again. This mask editor, we wanna mask out these areas exactly. So the edges, but we wanna do it the other way around. So if we say multiply now, it deletes those edges, you see? Okay, this is already pretty much what we want. Now all we want to do is think of places where we don't want this at all. Like I don't want this to be on the blade, so I'm gonna add a paint layer and just mask out the blade itself. As you can see, it's not here anymore. Also, I think we don't actually need to change the color on this. I think this adds too much noise. Or let's change the color but pull it down a lot. Let's see. Yeah, what if we just pull it down to like 30? Yeah, this is better. Also, let's mask out the inside here. Nope. As we don't want the dots in here. Also, don't forget the backside. Okay. Great. So now we want to add like larger dots. Let's just duplicate it for this. Instead of all those layers, we're gonna add the dirt 2 now, which is also similar dirt. But yeah, a bit different. So again, we wanna turn down the balance so we have more of those, less of those dots, and we wanna change the tiling again. Okay, I think this could work. So as you can see, it just adds those a little larger dots here. And maybe those were too deep as well. Maybe we should not make them minus 0.5, maybe minus 0.3 is fine. And the same on this one, minus 0.3. Yeah. If you don't like how the pattern looks, you can always press randomize to change it. Let's see. Okay, cool. Let's check the back here. Where this is. Yeah, this is cool. This adds those little bigger ones. Maybe let's make this one minus 0.5 and the smaller one minus 0.3. Okay, cool. And as you can see, the metal is already taking shape. So we have all those different variations in here. All those nice little effects. The next thing I think we should add is like an effect for the blade itself. So let's add a layer. Let's add a layer where we give the blade itself slightly different color. So we just need color in this case. And we want to make it, compare the colors now, slightly darker. Put it also in a layer. Let's call this blade. Okay. And on top of this, we want to add like our anastrophic effect. So we want to make it a little brighter again. It's too dark then for the anastrophic effect. We want to add a black layer to this. And we want to add as a fill layer the anastrophic effect. And this trophic, here it is, the anastrophic effect. This is too wide right now how it is. To change this, we just go into the parameters and we're gonna pull up the wire mount to like 208. That's great. So if you take a look now, yeah, you have this nice effect all over the blade. Now to break this a bit, what we can add is a warp. So it's not straight lines, so it's warped lines. Yeah, exactly like this. So we have those nice warped lines. So we're gonna call this one base again. We're gonna call this one anastrophic. We're gonna put a black mask on the whole layer. We're gonna add a paint layer, and again we're gonna mask out our didn't want to do this. We're gonna mask out the blade. Okay. Not this, of course. Okay, looks good. To make the mask not 100% sharp, what we can do is we can add a filter and choose the blur, maybe 0.25 or something, just a small blur, so the mask is not 100%. And now what we can do, we can just take this whole group and put it onto like maybe 50 is a bit maybe not enough. Let's pull it up a bit. Let's see. I think we wanna pump this down, but we wanna brighten the color so there is more difference. So let's make this brighter. And let's also, we forgot the roughness, of course, let's also change the roughness. So now we see this effect shining through, even though it's on 50%. Maybe even more bright than this. But we can always change it later. So let's see, yeah. Maybe that's too much now. Let's turn it down a bit. But yeah, even though it's on 50%, we can see it shining through, which is nice. Okay. On top of this effect, we're gonna add like a base rust layer or a base dirt layer. We're gonna add another rust layer onto everything anyway, but now we're gonna just introduce this little dirt breakup. So to start off, we wanna first of all create a new group. Gonna call this one dirt. Oop. Dirt. Inside this dirt layer, again another fill layer. This time again metal color rough, because dirt is not metallic, so we don't want metal. We want to choose like a brown, and we want to change our roughness to be like more what our dirt should be. We're gonna call this one dirt small, and inside the black mask, we're gonna add a generator again, and we're gonna choose the mask editor again. This time we take a look at it. We don't want the edges, but we want the cavities, so we're gonna change this to cavities. And we're just gonna, we're gonna get rid of some of those, so it's not affecting so much, but yeah, this is basically it. So as you can see, we're already getting this nice dirt layer here. On top of this one, we're gonna add a bigger dirt layer now. So let's just duplicate this because the color will be the same basically. We just wanna change the looks of it. So let's first of all rename it dirt big. We wanna look into the mask, and we wanna work with this now. So we wanna, instead of cavities, we want the edges now. We wanna flip this though. So now the edges are black and we see the insides. And we wanna change this mask a bit now, as we want, we want those pieces to be larger, those blacked out pieces basically. So I'm gonna change this a bit. Let's see. Okay, for now, let's leave it like this. Again, we wanna add a texture in here. For this one, we're gonna, there's a nice bigger grunge map, like a galvanic. You will see it when we turn the texture on, which looks pretty cool on metal because it adds those nice breakup effects. So let's take a look. We wanna increase the scale a bit. Yeah, nice. So we see more. And we wanna, instead of overlay it again, we wanna multiply it. And this already looks pretty cool, I would say. Maybe we can, let's see, maybe we can work a bit more with this mask here. But I think this is already cool. Let's keep it like this for now. Let's see if we turn it off and on, how it looks. Yeah, this is cool. This adds a nice, this adds this nice overall dirt to everything. Yeah. Okay, this is cool. On top of the dirt, what we want to add is a scratch mask basically. So again, another fill layer. This one will be metallic, so we don't need to choose because the underleaf materials are metallic anyway. The color, we can either make it full white and we change it later, or change the opacity, or keep it already in a gray value. Roughness should be fine like this, and we want to add height and go a bit down, so minus 0.02 or something. Gonna call this one scratches. We're gonna add again black mask. We're gonna add again fill layer, and inside this fill, we're gonna choose a grunge map again. So we're gonna search for grunge scratches. There's one scrunch, exactly this one. which adds these nice scratches. So that's cool already. But again, we don't want it everywhere. We want it just around the edges. So a way to do this is to again use the edge generator, the mask generator. Okay, so let's start off with the mask generator again. We can again change this to cavities, pump this up. Okay, that's basically it. We wanna invert this whole thing basically. We wanna add this crunch map on top and change it to multiply. But as you can see, it still masks, still is kinda visible here because the mask is not rough and contrasty enough. So what we can do is add the levels here and change it. Change it so it's more contrasty. Or we can already, instead of flipping it here, we can flip it in here and do everything in here. It's even easier. Okay, something like this. Okay. So if we check now, it still is a lot of those scratches. So let's see if we can just get rid of some of those scratches. So we can turn down the width a bit. Yeah, it's too much basically. Let's turn this down. Double scratches we basically don't want. Can turn this up a bit so it's more masked. We don't actually need this dust stuff like at all, just a tiny bit maybe. Yep, and then what we can do is just look at the whole blade and press randomize till we like, yeah, this one looks good, till we like one of those patterns. So let's keep this one for now. So that's our scratches, and then at the very top, what I always add is a layer just for the roughness. That's super glossy, and or maybe not super glossy, but that is glossier, and we're gonna call it fingerprints. We're gonna add a black mask again, and inside this black mask, a fill layer with fingerprints. Exactly. So now if we take a look at this, again, we want it triplanar, and we want it in the size that fingerprints would be roughly on this blade. Something like 3 maybe, yep. And when we just check out the roughness map now, you can see we add those nice fingerprint effects on the blade. Okay. And that is basically, the metal. So let's combine everything to a group and call it metal. So the next thing we want to do is the plastic for the duct tape or for the insulation tape. Again, let's start from a flat layer. We want to have it blue. Which blue exactly we can always change later. So let's just take something for now. We want to make sure it's has the correct roughness. So let's take a look. Yeah, something like this maybe. Height is set to 0. That's fine. But as you can see, the height map from the underlying metal comes through. To change this, what we can do is we can either assign a mask to this metal group or change the layer opacities, but I think mask is the better version in this case. So let's just add a mask, a paint layer, and let's just select only the pieces that should be metal. So it's this mesh and this mesh basically. Same for this one. We're gonna call this one plastic. We're gonna add a black mask again. We're gonna add a paint layer, and we're gonna choose those two meshes. Oh, it's saving now, okay. Those two meshes that should be blue. Okay, we're gonna call this one base, and we're gonna work from here. So one thing we wanna do first is we wanna have brighter edges again. So we're gonna add a fill layer with white and more rough. We're gonna add black mask. We're gonna call this one highlights. We're gonna add a generator, the mask editor again, and we're gonna mask out the edges. In this case, we only want the very fine and sharp edges like this. That's even too much, so let's do it like this. And we also want to turn this down a lot, like maybe to 5 opacity or something. So most of it is just happening in the roughness. Okay. Yeah. So that's our highlights. So you can see it's already getting more dull on the edges. Another thing we want to add is like a soft dirt layer. So we want to add a new mask, a new fill layer. This one we want to make darker and again more rough. We can always change the exact value later. So let's do a black mask again. Let's do a generator as well. Again, the mask header. As you can see, I'm using mask header for practically everything because it gives us so many options. Oh, we want to choose the cavities this time. Again, not the huge one, just those in between. We want to use the ambient occlusion as well in this case. Let's see it. Yeah, in normal, we want to add it on screen, so it adds it to what we have already. And if we check it now, yeah, it adds this nice soft shadow. Again, we want to turn down the opacity a bit. Yeah, it adds this nice soft dirt shadow here. Now, what we want to do too is add a dirt breakup here. So we're just going to duplicate this one in this case. We're going to choose a nice brown color for our dirt. But now we want to make this mask bigger. So what we can do is we can add levels, for example. Pump this mask up a bit, like this. Go in here and get rid of the curvature in this case. Let's see, yeah, so it's just this dirt here. And we can add a fill layer again with some grunge. Let's take some random grunge. Maybe that one. We want to set it to multiply, so it just removes some of the things here. We can always change the balance, maybe like this. Let's see, and let's see. Yeah, let's change the opacities till the levels until we like it. But I think, yeah, this already looks cool. One last thing is that we need for sure, because this looks very new. We want to add like an option to make this like look older. So what we want to do is like tone it down a lot. So we want to create a new folder in here and call this one older. Inside this one, we want to create one layer that really tones it down. So it takes the color basically of this, but in way darker. So it really looks like it's older. And it's going to be more rough as it aged more. Yeah, exactly something like this. Okay, that's our base. Base. On top of this one, we want to do a black layer. So let's just duplicate this one. I want to do a black layer with some random splotches in the mask. So let's add a black mask. Let's add a fill layer, and let's add some random dirt basically. So let's call this one dirt, or let's choose a dirt. Let's see some random dirt. Let's see if we can work with this one. Yeah, let's change it a bit. Yeah, this looks cool. Okay, yeah, so we get those splotches here. Let's just change let's just press random. Oh, it doesn't work. Okay. Change it to triplanar. Let's see. Okay. The only thing I want to do is add a blur to this, as it's very detailed, and I don't want this on this thing, to be honest. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So that's that. In this case, let's call this dark spots. And in this case, let's add an anchor, because I want to change the center of those spots now. So what I want to do is I want to create a new fill layer, add a black mask, and add this anchor as a fill. So it's basically the same mask now. But now we want to add levels on top of this and really squash it down. So only the center pieces stay, as you can see. Yeah, only the center. And in the center, we, of course, this is just temporary color. We're gonna choose some dirty green or brownish color. We don't need a roughness, to be honest. We just want to make it dirty. Okay. I think we need to go back to this mask and change the contrast, as it looks like it's burning out too much and I don't want this. Yeah, this looks good. Now this is used way too much on the whole thing. So what we want to do, oh, miswrote here. We want to add a black mask here. And again, we don't want to use it everywhere. We want to use it just on some spots around the whole material. So let's add a fill layer here. And let's start again with fingerprints. There is this one called smeared fingerprints. Yeah, smeared. We're gonna use this one. We're gonna use again 3-planar, and we're gonna use like maybe, I don't know, 5 or just a bigger value. Let's see. Let's keep 6 for now. But again, we don't want it everywhere. We want it just on some areas. So again, generator with the mask editor. And we're gonna mask out the edges again. So let's turn this all the way up. Let's choose edges. Let's invert it. Let's set it to multiply. And let's make sure it's just the very edges again, like this. And now if we look at this, it should add this, yeah, exactly, those nice, look at the base color, those nice dark splotches here. Maybe our colors are not correct right now, so let's see. Okay, also our base color is a bit bright, or a bit, yeah, a bit off, a bit too saturated. Yeah, this one looks cool. So now, as you can see, yeah, it really shines out those spots. Okay, so we can leave the plastic like this as well. So the main parts we are missing are the rust effects now and the welding effects. Let's tackle both of those pieces in the second part of the texturing.